Yay! Welcome back. Why am I so red? Well, we're gonna all have to collectively get over that. In TikTok, oops, TikTok is sitting right there. No, it is not. Okay, let's try it this way. Hello. I'm very happy to see you. Am I talking to myself right now? I'm not sure. Yes, but anyways, a random biologist, is reading the second chapter by now of Darwin's The Origin of Species. It's been a thing. Like, this book is a thing, obviously, for every biologist, for every scientist, really, for everyone, really. And the thing is that, like many of the books that are a thing, we are not very good at reading them. You know, like, so many people are living the Bible and have never read it. And I'm not going to say that this is like the Bible. This is nothing like the Bible. But I have had so much to do with this book over the years without ever... Hi, how are you? Without ever actually reading it, that I decided that I'm going to start reading it now. And we are by now on chapter 2. If you want to watch the rest of the videos, the first like 4 parts, I think this is the 5th time that I'm going live, or the 6th. No idea. If you want to watch the parts before, they are available on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, and you can find them there. Well, I'd be happy if you see them and if you watch them and if you follow me as well, of course. But at the same time, I mean, obviously, I don't know if I would watch them, because I'm not like reading it to you out loud, the David Attenborough style, and being like, someone talking about Christ. No, I'm not talking about Christ. I'm sorry. I'm talking about Charles Darwin and the theory of evolution. Like, yeah, I just said that people don't read the important books in their lives, and this has been an important book for me as a biologist, which I have not read though. Yeah, so I'm reading, and we are now at chapter 2 by now, which is exciting because, I mean, we had quite a while. We read so much about in the first chapter already about pigeons, and I'm obsessed with the pigeon lore. No worries. So I'm obsessed with this pigeon lore that is going on in here. I mean, obviously Darwin is a bird guy, like with the finches and all, but at the same time, I didn't expect him to know. I mean, I didn't expect anyone to know so much about some, I don't know, like birds. I don't care about birds that much myself, so that's why I'm saying it. Yeah, but anyways, we're gonna start reading chapter 2 now. Hi, Lucky. We're gonna start reading chapter 2 now. Chapter 2 of Darwin's The Origin of Species. Okay. Before applying the principles arrived at in the last chapter to organic beings in a state of nature, we must briefly discuss whether these latter are subject to any variation. Duh, we discussed a lot in the first chapter. I mean, I'm gonna read you the overview of the first chapters, just so that we remind ourselves of what we were doing. So we were talking about causes of variability, effects of habit in the use and disuse of parts, correlated variation, inheritance, character of domestic varieties, difficulty of distinguishing between varieties and species, origin of domestic varieties from one or more species, domestic pigeons, their differences in origin, principles of selection anciently followed their effects, methodical and unconscious selection, and an unknown origin of our domestic productions, and the circumstances favorable to a man's power of selection. Now, this was a very long chapter live-wise. It was very long because I keep interrupting myself and I keep telling you guys whatever I'm thinking at that moment. So that's why I wouldn't go back to watch them. But please go watch them, watch them, and also follow me on YouTube or TikTok or wherever you like to. Yes. So before applying the principles arrived at in the last chapter to organic beings in a state of nature, we must briefly discuss whether these latter are subject to any variation. To treat this subject properly, a long catalogue of dry facts ought to be given, but these I shall reserve for future work. I find it so funny that he keeps doing this, oh, I don't have the space to discuss this in detail, so I'm just going to keep going, and you're going to assume that you're going to read something from me at any other time in your life. So much space, but it's fine. It's fine. Everything is fine. But I mean, it's good that he's not going to give us, a long catalogue of dry facts. That's a good thing, right? It is. Nor shall I here discuss the various definitions which have been given for of the term species. No one definition has satisfied all naturalists, yet every naturalist knows vaguely what he means when he speaks of a species. Generally, the term includes the unknown element of a distinct act of creation. The term variety is almost equally difficult to define, but here community of descent is almost universally implied, though it can rarely be proved. Yeah, we had to... I mean, this is a book from 1858, right? This has been around a while, and people are actually have decided on definitions on those things, but it's fine. We are looking at what he was doing at the time he was doing it, and we're going to try to see how he, used the information he had at the time. Yes. The term variety is almost equally difficult to define, but here community of descent is almost universally implied, though it can rarely be proved. We have also what are called monstrosities. I want to know what he means by monstrosities. Every time he's talking about monstrosities, but they graduate into varieties. Thank you. By a monstrosity, I presume is meant some considerable deviation of structure, generally injurious or not useful to the species. Okay, that's good. Thank you. Thank you for this definition, because he has been using the term monstrous so many times, and, some authors use the term variation in a technical sense as implying a modification directly due to the physical conditions of life, and variations in this sense are supposed not to be inherited, but who can say that the dwarfed condition of shells in the brackish waters of the Baltic, or dwarfed plants on alpine summits, or the thicker fur of an animal from far northwards would not in some cases be inherited for at least a few generations. And in this case, I presume that the form would be called a variety. Makes sense. It may be doubted whether sudden and considerable deviations of structure, such as we occasionally see in our domestic productions, more especially with plants, are ever permanently propagated in a state of nature. Almost every part of every organic being is so beautifully related to its complex conditions of life that it seems as improbable that any part should have been suddenly produced perfect, and that a complex machine should have been invented by man in a perfect state. Under domestication, monstrosities sometimes occur which resemble normal structures in widely different animals. Thus, pigs have occasionally been born with a sort of proboscis. Proboscis? What is a proboscis? What is proboscis? Does anyone know what a proboscis is? I need help. And if any wild species of the same genus has naturally possessed a proboscis... proboscida. Hi, Nikhil. How are you? Proboscis is a longer snout. Yes, duh. Also, the only reason I know that I'm not that smart. The only reason I know that is because I'm half Greek. Proboscis is Proboscis. So if you can give me a real definition, that would be great. Yes. What? Where was I? Proboscis, it might have been argued that this had appeared as a monstrosity, but I have yet failed to find a diligent search cases of monstrosities resembling normal structures in nearly allied forms, and these alone bear on the question. If monstrous forms of this kind ever do appear in a state of nature and are capable of reproduction, which is not always the case, as they occur rarely and singly, their preservation would depend on unusually favorable circumstances. Elongated snout or mouth part. Yes. So the Greek word for the... What's the English word? The Greek word for elephant trunk is proboscida, and that's why I thought I understood what the word means. So yes, yeah, proboscis, yes, exactly. Elongated, the proboscis monkey or long-nosed monkey, Nasalis larvatus, is an arboreal old world monkey with an unusually large nose or proboscis, a reddish-brown skin color, and long tail. That's so interesting. It's such a pity that you cannot post a picture. Can you post a picture? Can you post a picture? Could one? No. Anyways, I'm gonna Google them later. Yes, that's so. Yes. So elongated snouts on pigs. I don't think you can. Yeah, I don't think I can either. I don't think you can either. I don't think I can either. I think I have this plus sign here next to my chat thingy, and I can start a Fragerunde. What's a Fragerunde in English? A question thingy, or I can start a poll. But who wants that? Okay, so. Let's keep going. They would also, during the first and succeeding generations, cross with the ordinary form, and thus their abnormal character would almost inevitably be lost. Duh. But I shall have to return in a future chapter to the preservation and perpetuation of single or occasional variations. Individual differences. The many slight differences which appear in the offspring from the same parents, or which it may be presumed have thus arisen from being observed in the individuals of the same species inhabiting the same confined locality, may be called individual differences. No one supposes that all the individuals of the same species are cast in the same actual mold. These individual differences are of the highest importance for us, for they are often inherited, as must be familiar to everyone. And they thus afford materials for natural selection to act on and accumulate, in the same manner as man accumulates in any given direction individual differences in his domesticated productions. These individual differences generally affect what naturalists consider unimportant parts. But I could show, by a long catalogue of facts, that parts which must be called important, whether viewed under a psychological or classificatory point of view, sometimes vary in the individuals of the same species. I'm convinced that the most experienced naturalist would be surprised at the number of the cases of variability, even in important parts of structure, which he could collect on good authority, as I have collected during a course of years. He collected a shit ton of things, Link for the reference picture. What do you mean? What's a link for the reference picture? What does that? Can you post a link? I don't know if you can post a link on there. I don't know. Where was I? As I have collected during course of years. Yes, it should be remembered that systematists are far from being pleased at finding variability in important characters, and that there are not many men who will laboriously examine internal and important organs and compare them in many specimens of the same species. It would never have been expected that the branching of the main nerves, those close to the great central ganglion of an insect, would have been variable in the same species. It might have been thought that changes of this nature could have been affected only by slow degrees. Yet, Sir J. Lubbock has shown a degree of variability in these main nerves in coccus, which can almost be compared to the irregular branching of the stem of a tree. This philosophical, well, is the stem of a tree actually irregular? Or is it not? I had this one course, it wasn't a course, it was like somebody from university came to school when we were like, I don't know, I was like 16 or 17, and they came to school and they were talking to us about fractals in mathematics and how the entire world is designed by fractals basically. And I remember having like one of the most moments of my life, because I was like, oh my god, all the snowflakes, all the trees, all the like, it is so incredible. Like the person, I didn't understand what fractals were, and I don't think I do now, but at the same, it was so incredible. It was just amazing. I love that. I love when that happens. I love when people are so inspired by their own work and by their own thing that they can inspire others. Yes, fractals, yes. And they're so just, it's so amazing to just listen to them. And I was like 16, I didn't know anything about fractals, and I was like, this is amazing, this is so beautiful, everything is so pretty. Yes. And yeah. Okay, that's the only reason why I'm talking about fractals right now is because he said that the branching of the stem of a tree is irregular. But is it? I think not. Anyways, this philosophical naturalist, I may add, has also shown that the muscles in the larvae of certain insects are far from uniform. Authors sometimes argue in a circle when they state that important organs never vary. For these same authors practically rank those parts as important, as some naturalists have honestly confessed, which do not vary, and thus, under this point of view, no instance will ever be found of an important part varying, but under any other point of view, many instances assuredly can be given. I'm not sure what I just read. So, he's saying that some authors think that important organs never vary. And for these same authors, they are also the ones that that rank if those parts are important or not, so if they vary or not. As some few natures have honestly confessed, yes, which do not vary. That they're saying that something is important because it doesn't vary. Okay, yes. Okay, you know, I know, we know, this is, but it's fine. There is one point connected with individual differences which is extremely perplexing. I refer to those genera which have been called protean or polymorphic, in which species present an inordinate amount of variation. With respect to many of these forms, hardly two naturalists agree whether to rank them as species or as varieties. We may instance rubus, rosa, and hieracium among plants. I don't even know what plants they are. I'm a biologist, I know, but at the same time, I am like, if you show me a tree, I can tell you that it is a tree. And that's the extent that my knowledge of plant biology goes to. Like, I know that this is an olive tree, and she's called Athena, and we love her. And she almost died this summer because she was burned out by the sun, which is incredible that this could happen. But I mean, she's a potted plant, so anything can happen, because otherwise olive plants are like very, very sturdy. But she almost died, and now she's getting all these new leaves. Do you see them? She's so cute. I love you. I love you, and I know what tree you are. And I know some of the other plants in here as well, but you know, that's what I'm just trying to tell you that I do not know what wait, where was that? What rubus, rosa, I'm guessing the rose, and hieracium is? No idea. Yes. What did you write? Love the decorative setting in the background. March feels like Christmas is here already. Yeah, that's year round. I do not give a shit. I cannot not have, like, especially now that it's getting dark so early. I hate for this black hole to just be there. So I always have like my candles and my fairy lights and everything. Yeah, and that's why that's always on. That's every day is a date with myself. Every day is like candle day and everything. But I've just started this, like, I don't know, a few years back. Before that, I was like, well, I'm not gonna spend any money on candles, and I'm not gonna spend. And I'm still very, like, no, I wasn't very careful with money, but now I am. Anyways, who cares? I think it's like a white flower. Yes, but what kind of white flower? But I think so too. I feel white flower from it too. Yeah. Oh, thank you. That's so cute. Thank you. Okay. Yes, so some random plants, we don't know which they are. Okay, several genera of insects and brachiopod shells. In most polymorphic genera, some of the species have fixed and definite characters. Genera which are polymorphic in one country seem to be, with a few exceptions, polymorphic in other countries, and likewise, judging from the brachiopod shells, at former periods of time. These facts are very perplexing, for they seem... The music box just went off? It must have been hours that it was on. I have no idea. I came back from work. I haven't used them yet. Okay, I'm sorry. I was just perplexed. Okay. Woo! How fitting. These facts are very perplexing, for they seem to show that this kind of variability is independent of the conditions of life. I'm inclined to suspect that we see, at least in some of these polymorphic genera, variations which are of no service or disservice to the species, and which consequently have not been seized or rendered definite by natural selection, as hereafter to be explained. Individuals of the same species often present, as is known to everyone, am I the drama? It is known to everyone. With 5 petals and a yellow set. Those ones! I think I know which ones you mean. Yes. Yes, yes, of course. I'm gonna Google that right now. Hieracium. Ooh. Ah, that's it. That's the what's it called? Habichtskraut. I know it in German for whatever reason. Anyways, which was the other one? Rubus. Ah, what are they called in English? I have no idea what they're called. Uh, mm, I don't know what they're called, but they're tasty. And I've eaten some this year. So, you know. Anyways, okay. Blackberry. Yes, thank you. Yes, blackberry, exactly. Perfect. Now, where was I? Every time. That's also a reason why you should not watch the old ones, because when we're here live, everything is fine. I'm talking to you, you're talking to me, everything is okay. But this, hi Adele, hi. um, but this constant interruption of my train of thought, which is the totally normal thing to happen, and we're not very ADHD. It happens all the time, and it takes hours, you know. No, let me see. Individuals of the same species often present, as is known to everyone, great differences of structure independently of variation, as in the two sexes of various animals, in the 2 or 3 castes of sterile females, or workers among insects, and in the immature and larval states of many of the lower animals. Huh. There are also cases of dimorphism and trimorphism both within animals and plants. Thus, Mr. Wallace, who has lately called attention to the subject, has shown that the females of certain species of butterflies in the Malayan archipelago regularly appear under 2 or even 3 conspicuously distinct forms not connected by intermediate varieties. Fritz Muller has described analogous but more extraordinary cases with the males of certain Brazilian crustaceans. Thus, the male of a Tanais regularly occurs under 2 distinct forms. One of these has strong and differently shaped pincers, and the other has antennae much more abundantly furnished with smelling hairs. Although in most of these cases the 2 or 3 forms, both with animals and plants, are not now connected by intermediate gradations, it is possible that they were once thus connected. True. Mr. Wallace, for instance, describes a certain butterfly which presents in the same island a great range of varieties connected by intermediate links, and the extreme links of the chain closely resemble the 2 forms of an allied dimorphic species inhabiting another part of the Malay archipelago. Thus, also with ants. Do you know what I want to do? I want to be one of these. No, I don't. Do I? Like, they traveled a lot. They were also like very fortunate to be able to, and privileged, obviously, because they were men and they were educated and all of that. But I am not a man but educated, and I would like to get like a scholarship to travel around and just make observations and write fat books from that. That's what I would like to do. That would be so cool. But at the same time super stressful, so maybe not. Not right now. Let's think on it a bit. Okay. Where was I? Again. Here. Thus, also with ants, the several worker castes are generally quite distinct, but in some cases, as we shall hereafter see, the castes are connected together by finely graduated varieties. So it is, as I have myself observed, with some dimorphic plants. It certainly at first appears a highly remarkable fact that the same female butterfly should have the power of producing at the same time 3 distinct female forms and a male, and that an hermaphrodite plant should produce from the same seed capsule 3 distinct hermaphrodite forms bearing 3 different kinds of females and 3 or even 6 different kinds of males. Nevertheless, these cases are only exaggerations of the common fact that the female produces offspring of 2 sexes which sometimes differ from each other in a wonderful manner. I am so amazed by this because what do you mean you didn't choose to put pictures in this book? And I'm not usually a picture book gal, but at the same time, this would have been so helpful here, and also with all of these pigeon things that you were talking about last time. Like, how can you, what do you mean? Why are there no pictures? And I understand that the printing was different these days, but hi, Raphael. I'm fine. I'm very fine. I'm reading the book I'm reading, so I'm very happy about that because I love reading, and I also love like the talking. Apparently, yes, in a wonderful manner. Next chapter chunk: doubtful species. Are we doubting that they are species, or are we doubting? What are we doubting here? The forms which possess in some considerable degree the characters of species, but which are so closely similar to other forms, or are so closely linked to them by intermediate gradations by naturalists that naturalists do not like to rank them as distinct species, are in several respects the most important for us. Makes sense. We have every reason to believe that many of these doubtful and closely allied forms have permanently retained their characters for a long time, for as long as far as we know, as have good and true species. Practically, when a naturalist can unite by means of intermediate links any 2 forms, he treats the one with a variety of the other, ranking the most common. He treats the one as a variety of the other, ranking the most common, but sometimes the one first described as the species and the other as the variety. But cases of great difficulty, which I will not here enumerate. He could have written a book about all the things he's not going to write a book about. But cases of great difficulty, which I will not here enumerate, sometimes arise in deciding whether or not to rank one form as a variety of another, even when they are closely connected by intermediate links. Nor will the commonly assumed hybrid nature of the intermediate forms always remove the difficulty. In very many cases, however, one form is ranked as a variety of another, not because the intermediate links have actually been found, but because analogy leads the observer to suppose either that they do now somewhere exist, or maybe formerly have existed, and here a wide door of the entry of doubt and conjecture is opened. How true. Does it say anything about how we evolved languages? I don't think so. I don't think so, because he was a naturalist. He was into watching birds. He was a bird watcher, and we like that about him, but also not relatable at all. So, you know. Yes. Doubt. Hence, in determining whether a form should be ranked as a species or a variety, the opinion of naturalists having sound judgment and wide experience seems the only guide to follow. We must, however, in many cases, decide by a majority of naturalists, for a few well-marked and well-known varieties can be named which have not been ranked as species by at least some competent judges. That varieties of this doubtful nature are far from uncommon cannot be disputed. That varieties of this doubtful nature are far from uncommon cannot be disputed. Compare the several floras of Great Britain, of France, or of the United States, drawn up by different botanists, and see what a surprising number of forms have been ranked by one botanist as good species and by another as mere varieties. Mere varieties. What do you mean mere varieties? Why are we condescending and patronizing to varieties? Anyways. Mr. H.C. Watson. Mr. H.C. Watson, oh my god, for fuck's sake. Mr. H.C. Watson, to whom I lie under deep obligation for assistance of all kinds, has marked for me 182 British plants. I mean, I guess it helped not having TikTok and being able to doom scroll all day, but so he marked for me 182 British plants, which are generally considered as varieties, but which have all been ranked by botanists as species. And in making this list, he has omitted many trifling varieties, but which nevertheless have been ranked by some botanists as species. Well, how many times are you going to write the same sentence? Did I find? Oh my god. Did I find it? No, it's fine. He wasn't wrong. I was wrong in how I read it. No, it's fine. Okay. So he marked 182 British plants, which are generally considered varieties, but which have been ranked by botanists as species. And in making this list, he has omitted many trifling varieties, but which nevertheless have been ranked by some botanists as species. And he has entirely omitted several highly polymorphic genera. Under genera, including the most polymorphic forms, Mr. Babington gives 251 species, whereas Mr. Bentham gives only 112, a difference of 139 doubtful forms. The second, oh my god, we reached the second exclamation point of this book. I feel honored. I am a person who uses tons of exclamation points at all times because I don't care. I will, okay? But it is so funny to me when I see that like scientists, we're not as scientists, we're not supposed to use exclamation points. We're not supposed to be too emotional about things. We're not supposed to be excited and everything. But I get super excited about stuff like that, and I'm like, oh my god! It's like some messages of me. A friend of mine had made my name a verb because she was saying that I am just too excited. I write, are you margaritaing again? Was meaning something like, are you just answering in exclamation points right now? And he is definitely not a margarita at all, because he has used in 44 pages of interesting facts, he has used only 2 exclamation points. I love exclamation points. Yeah, okay. But yes, but a difference of 139 doubtful forms. Exclamation point. Among animals which unite for each birth and which are highly locomotive, doubtful forms ranked by one zoologist as a species and by another as a variety can rarely be found within the same country, but are common in separate areas. How many of the birds and insects in North America and Europe, which differ very slightly from each other, have been ranked by one eminent naturalist as undoubted species and by another as varieties, or as they are often called, geographical races? Mr. Wallace, in several valuable papers of the various animals, especially on the Lepidoptera. By the way, I want to mention. So I don't remember when it was. It was one of the first times that I went live, and somebody said that Wallace is. The theory of evolution is, everybody knows that Charles Darwin is like the father of the theory of evolution and everything, and everybody knows that. And I also grew up, or grew up. I also grew up with the knowledge that people assumed that Darwin was trying to grab all the attention from Wallace, because he got this letter from Wallace that was like, well, hey mate, I'm also working on that, how about we discuss this a bit? And then he wrote this book, and then he was like, well, I want to be as fast as I can by writing this book to, I thought it was some, yes, that's wait, what's his name, the Punnett squares and the peas, that's another one. He was living in a monastery and working with peas, and we have these genetics thingies. But he wasn't called Punnett. Every single fucking... I'm also blanking on the name. Yes. No, not Reginald. Mendel. Sorry, I have my cup on my knee. Mendel. Yes, Mendel. And Mendel was doing the genetics part. Like, he was talking about evolution, but this was later. And he was talking about the peas and how the traits are basically being translated into the next generations. And the thing is that Darwin was talking about evolution as a general concept. And the thing is that Wallace was another guy who also discovered evolution, or described evolution around the same time that Darwin did. But Darwin wrote this book first, so everybody's like, well, Darwin is, Darwin, and Darwin is the shit. And we do believe that, but also we want to give credit where credit is due. So we are trying to, recognize people that were not as involved when it was, at the time, which was mainly women. And then we are trying to realize that, and that's why now people have been. Somebody told me that the British Society, some society from England, I don't know. I'm very uneducated right now. I don't know. I don't remember what they're called, but that they said that it is the Darwin-Wallace theory of evolution, so that they gave the name to him. They gave his name as well to recognize his contribution to it, because they felt like, or we all feel like, he basically was stolen. He got his theory stolen, that this was based on his work, because Charles Darwin was like richer and older and wanted more faster recognition for it. And he does, if you saw my first live, he does say that this happened. Like, he does say that he had this letter from Wallace, and that this letter, yes, prestige, yes, exactly. So that he had this letter from Wallace that described the same things that he was already researching for years. And we're not gonna dispute that he wasn't researching it for years himself. Yeah, it's just like, oh my God, shit, somebody else. And that happens in the scientific community all the time as well. That, oh my God, shit, somebody else has also made the same discovery that I'm making right now, and I want to publish it first because, duh, it's my life's work, Yeah, but I like that he keeps mentioning Wallace, and he's not like acting like Wallace doesn't exist. He's writing Wallace, he's including Wallace just as he is including everybody else. And he included Wallace in the beginning by saying that Wallace wrote me this, and this inspired me to do that. Like, he told us that he's trying to get into it. Yeah. I mean, you know what I mean. Yes, but now I forgot again where I was and what I was talking about. Mr. Wallace, right after the exclamation point, I remember. Okay. Mr. Wallace and several valuable papers on the various animals, especially on the Lepidoptera inhabiting the islands of the Great Malayan Archipelago, shows that they may be classed under 4 heads, namely as variable forms, as local forms, as geographical races or subspecies, and as true representative species. The first or variable forms may The first or variable forms vary much within the limits of the same island. Okay. The local forms are moderately constant and distinct in each separate island, but when all from the several islands are compared together, the differences are seen to be so slight and graduate that it is impossible to define or describe them, though at the same time the extreme forms are sufficiently distinct. The geographical races or subspecies are local forms completely fixed and isolated, but as they do not differ from each other by strongly marked and important characters, there is no possible test but individual opinion to determine which of them shall be considered as species and which as varieties. Lastly, representative species fill the same place in the natural economy of each island as do the local forms and subspecies, but as they are distinguished from each other by a greater amount of difference than that between the local forms and subspecies, they are almost universally ranked by naturalists as true species. Nevertheless, no certain criterion can possibly be given by which variable forms, local forms, subspecies, and representative species can be recognized. Many years ago, when comparing and seeing others compare, the birds from the closely neighboring islands of the Galapagos archipelago, one with another. I want to go there. I want to go to the Galapagos. I have a t-shirt that says Galapagos. Yes, right? Everyone wants to go there. Oh. At some point, I'm going to go. I'm going to let you know when I do. I want to go to the Galapagos. Okay. Many years ago, when comparing and seeing others compare the birds from the closely neighboring islands of the Galapagos archipelago, one with another, and with those from the American mainland, I was much struck how entirely vague and arbitrary in the distinction between species and varieties is. On the islets of the Little Madeira group, there are many insects which are characterized as varieties in Mr. Wollaston's admirable work, but which would certainly be ranked as distinct species by many entomologists. Even Ireland has a few animals now generally regarded as varieties, but which have been ranked as species by some zoologists. Several experienced ornithologists consider our British red grouse. What's a grouse? What's a grouse? The British red grouse as only a strongly marked race of a Norwegian species. What's a grouse? Whereas the greater number rank it as an undoubted species peculiar to Great Britain. Yes, but what's a grouse? A grouse. A big bird with inflatable wings? You must be kidding. What do you mean inflatable wings? What do you mean in the front? I'm Googling this. What? How is it written? Grouse. Grouse. I know them. What are they called in Greek? Αγριόγαλος. Bravo, Γάλλος θα ήξερα. I would have known Γάλλος, not Αγριόγαλος, obviously. depending on the species. On the I mean, they look like I have tits. I'm acting like I'm 13. Okay. Yes. Okay. So they are supposed to be distinct, but also maybe not distinct enough from the Norwegian species. Okay. A wide distance between the homes of two doubtful forms leads many naturalists to rank them as distinct species. But what distance, it has been well asked, will suffice in that between America and Europe is ample? Will that between Europe and the Azores, or Madeira, or the Canaries, or between the several islands of these small archipelagos be sufficient? Mr. B.D. Walsh is a distinguished entomologist of the United States, has described what he calls phytophagic varieties and phytophagic species. Most vegetable feeding insects live on one kind of plant or on one group of plants. Some feed indiscriminately on many kinds, but do not in consequence vary. In several cases, however, insects found living on different plants have been observed by Mr. Walsh to present in their larval or mature state, or in both states, slight though constant differences in color, size, or in the nature of their secretions. I mean, I have two. I wanted to make a comment about biologists looking at the secretions of animals or insects, but I have two. I worked with ants for so long. So it's fine. And I could also distinguish whether it was poop or vomit. So I should be real quiet. In some instances, the males alone, in other instances, both males and females, have been observed thus to differ in a slight degree. When the differences are rather more strongly marked, and when both sexes and all ages are affected, the forms are ranked by all entomologists as good species. But no observer can determine for another, even if he can do so for himself, which of these phytophagic forms ought to be called species and which varieties. Makes sense. Mr. Walsh ranks the forms which it may be supposed would be freely intercrossing as varieties, and those which appear to have lost this power as species. Duh. As the differences depend on the insects having long fed on distinct plants, it cannot be expected that intermediate links connecting the several forms should now be found. The naturalist thus loses his best guide in determining whether to rank doubtful forms as varieties or as species. This likewise necessarily occurs with closely allied organisms which inhabit distinct continents or islands. When, on the other hand, wait, TikTok does not believe that I'm still here. I have to prove to TikTok that I'm not. I have to prove to TikTok that I'm not. I don't know what I'm not. That I'm not a robot, and not just leaving it be. I don't know. Who cares? Also. Concentrate. Righto. Where was I? When, on the other hand, an animal or plant ranges over the same continent or inhabits many islands in the same archipelago and presents different forms in the different areas, there is always a good chance that intermediate forms will be discovered which will link together the extreme states, and that these are then degraded to the rank of varieties. I hate that we're degrading them, but it's fine. Some few naturalists maintain that animals never present varieties, but then these same naturalists rank the slightest difference as of specific value, and when the same identical form is met within two distant countries or in two geological formations, they believe that two distinct species are hidden under the same dress. The term species thus comes to be a mere useless abstraction, implying and assuming a separate act of creation. It is certain that many forms considered by highly competent judges to be varieties resemble species so completely in character that they have been thus ranked by other highly competent judges. I like that we're not judging the judges here. I really like that. But to discuss whether they ought to be called species or varieties before any definitions of these terms have been generally accepted is vainly to beat the air. That is, I have never heard this expression, and I love it. It is vainly to beat the air. I am fancy. I like that. Okay. Many of the cases of strongly marked varieties or doubtful species well deserve consideration, for several interesting lines of argument from geographical distribution, analogical variation, hybridism, etc. have been brought to bear in the attempt to determine their rank. But space does not here permit me to discuss them. I'm telling you, I want someone to go in here, look at every single thing that he's saying that he's not going to discuss, and then write a book only on the things that he's not going to be discussing, and see if it's going to be thicker than this or not. I should do that. That would be so fun. No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't. He talks about birds a lot. I like birds. I'm fine with birds. My problem is that I don't know anything about birds. So, okay, somebody who knows about birds, please go and read. It would be twice the size, right? It would be twice the size. It would be twice the, like, what do you mean? Every second paragraph is like, I'm not going to elaborate on that because, well, I wouldn't have the space. What do you mean you don't have the space? You wrote a... This live session would be so many months longer if you had written about every single thing that you don't know, you're not going to write about. But I need to get over that as well. I'm commenting on it every single time. Okay. But space does not here permit me to discuss them. Okay. Close investigation, in many cases, will no doubt bring naturalists to agree how to rank doubtful forms. Yet it must be confessed that it is in the best known countries that we find the greatest number of them. I have been struck with the fact that if any animal or plant in a state of nature be highly useful to man, or from any cause closely attracts his attention, varieties of it will almost universally be found recorded. Obviously, I mean, if nobody cared about birds, nobody would be looking at birds this closely. These varieties, moreover, will often be ranked by some authors as species. Look at the common oak, how closely it has been studied. Yet a German author makes more than a dozen species out of forms, which are almost universally considered by other botanists to be varieties. And in this country, the highest botanical authorities and practical men can be quoted to show that the sessile and pedunculated, I don't know the word, pedunculated oaks, pedunculated, are either good and distinct species or mere varieties. Well, the thing about oaks in Germany is that there are a lot. So, you know, you'd be bored if there were all only varieties. I may here allude to a remarkable memoir lately published by A. de Candolle on the oaks of the whole world. No one ever had more ample materials for the discrimination of the species, or could have worked on them with more zeal and sagacity. That's a nice compliment. That's such a nice compliment. He first gives in detail all the many points of structure which vary in the several species and estimates numerically the relative frequency of the variations. He specifies above a dozen characters which may be found varying even on the same branch, sometimes according to age or development, sometimes without any assignable reason. Such characters are not, of course, of specific value, but they are, as Asa Gray has remarked in commenting on this memoir, such as generally enter into specific definitions. De Candolle, or however he might be pronounced, then goes on to say that he gives the rank of species to the forms that differ by characters, never varying on the same tree, and never found connected by intermediate states. After this discussion, the result of so much labor, he emphatically remarks, they are mistaken who repeat that the greater part of our species are clearly limited, and that the doubtful species are in a feeble minority. This seemed to be true so long as a genus was imperfectly known, as its species were founded upon a few specimens, that is to say, were provisional. Just as we come to know them better, intermediate forms flow in and doubts as to specific limits augment. I am so happy we're not reading his book. Oh yes, thank you. Pedunculated oaks just need more moisture and nutrients compared to normal ones. Ah, that's very interesting. Huh. I mean, it makes sense because, duh, I mean, there are going to be different species that need different things, but at the same time, yes. So are they different species than the normal ones, or do they only count as varieties? And what did they do back then? Yeah, no, but we're happy that we're not reading the what's his name's? It says species. Okay, thank you. Yes, that's good. I mean, there is a very specific characteristic that is very specifically different, and that probably will not be able to like be some intermediate form to. I mean, it was probably at some time. That's cool. That's really cool. I love these moments of like, ha, in every book, but in this book as well. It's found in the alluvial plains. Ah, and like mainly there. I mean, probably, otherwise you wouldn't have written it, I guess. Tell me more. You do the live. I don't care. I want to know more. I think so. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. It would make sense, right? Yeah, it would make sense. Yes. He also adds that it is the best known species which present the greatest number of spontaneous varieties and subvarieties. Thus, Quercus robus has 28 varieties, all of which, excepting 6, are clustered around 3 subspecies, namely, Thus, Quercus robus has 28 varieties, all of which, excepting 6, are clustered around 3 subspecies, namely Q. pedunculata, sessiliflora, and pubescens. The forms which connect these 3 subspecies are comparatively rare, and as Asa Gray again remarks, in these connecting forms which are now rare were to become totally extinct, if these connecting forms, which are now rare, were to become totally extinct, the 3 subspecies would hold exactly the same relation to each other as do the 4 or 5 provisionally admitted species, which closely surround the typical Quercus robus. Finally, De Candolle admits that out of the 300 species which will be enumerated in his Prodromus as belonging to the oak family, at least 2/3 are provisional species, that is, are not known strictly to fulfill the definition above given of a true species. It should be added, for fuck's sake, it should be added that De Candolle, I have no idea what, I mean, I'm just reading, you know? De Candolle, maybe if he was a Spaniard, it was like a De Candolle, I don't know. Maybe he was French, and then it's like a De Candolle, I don't know. No longer believes that species are immutable creations, but concludes that the derivative theory in the most natural Swiss. What do you mean Swiss? How would I? So probably French leaning something. I don't know. I don't know. Geneva. Yes, French. Okay. Thank you. I love that you're here. I really love that you're here. This is perfect. Thank you for being here. It's so nice. Okay. Now, De Candolle or whatever no longer believes that species are immutable creations, but concludes. I'm so happy. But concludes that the derivative theory is the most natural one and the most accordant with the known facts in paleontology, geographical botany, and zoology of anatomical structure and classification. When a young naturalist commences the study of a group of organisms quite unknown to him, he is at first much perplexed in determining what differences to consider as specific and what as varietal, for he knows nothing of the amount and kind of variations to which the group is subject. And this and this shows, at least, how very generally there is some variation. But if he confines his attention to one class within one country, he will soon make up his mind how to rank most of the doubtful forms. His general tendency will be to make many species, for he will become impressed, just like the pigeon or poultry fancier before alluded to, with the amount of difference in the forms which he is continually studying. That's what I said. Like, there are so many oaks here in Germany. Obviously people were like, okay, well, let's separate them because we wouldn't have nothing else. If we said that all oaks are just oaks and everything else was just a variety, they would be like, well, okay, now I don't have anything else to do in my life. But not everybody is as privileged to be able to travel to the Galapagos and see other oaks. The German oaks would be very displeased. I'm not saying, but I am German, okay? I am German and I live here and everything. I did not mean that in a, I should, where was I? Yes, poultry, blah, continually studying. And if he has and he has little general knowledge of analogical variations in other groups and in other countries by which to correct his first impressions. I mean, yes, he didn't have the internet, okay? So, well, as he extends the range of his observations, he will meet with more cases of difficulty, for he will encounter a greater number of closely allied forms. But if his observations be widely extended, he will in the end generally be able to make up his own mind. But he will succeed in this at the expense of admitting much variation, and the truth of this admission will often be disputed by other naturalists. When he comes to study allied forms brought from other countries, not now continuous, in which case he cannot hope to find intermediate links, he will be compelled to trust almost entirely to analogy, and his difficulties will rise to a climax. Yeah, I mean, yes. Thanks for reading. It was very interesting, but I have to go to bed. Good night, Tanya. It was very nice to have you here. Thank you so much for joining. See you around. um, yes, that's very interesting. I mean, on the other hand, it should be like we should have very specific, um, scientifically speaking, there should be such specific rules as to what you can add to like a species category, a separate species, or a doubtful species if you need to, or a variety, because you cannot just have like, oh well, if I live in this country and I don't have the means to travel the world, then everything is going to be a different species. And if I do, then, well, everything is going to be the same species, but I don't know, I don't care, Well, hence, I look, what? Rise to a climax. Certainly no clear line of demarcation has yet been drawn, probably it has been drawn by now, I mean it's been a while, has not yet been drawn between species and subspecies, that is, the forms which, in the opinion of some naturalists, come very near to, but not quite arrive at, the rank of species, or again between subspecies and well-marked varieties, or between lesser varieties and individual differences. These differences blend into each other by an insensible series, and a series impresses the mind with the idea of an actual passage. Hence, I look at individual differences through, though of small interest to the systematists, as of the highest importance for us, as being the first step towards such slight varieties as are barely thought worth recording in works of natural history. And I look at varieties which are in any degree more distinct and permanent as steps towards more strongly marked and permanent varieties, and at the latter as leading to subspecies and then to species. The passage from one stage of difference to another may in many cases be the simple result of the nature of the organism and of the different physical conditions to which it has long been exposed. But with respect to the more important and adaptive characters, the passage from one stage of difference to another may be safely attributed to the cumulative action of natural selection, hereafter to be explained. Yeah, when are we going to start with this natural selection thing? Because what do you mean? We are here on page 50 and no, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. Hereafter to be explained, and to the effects of the increased use of disuse of parts. A well-marked variety may therefore be called an incipient species, but whether this belief is justifiable must be judged by the weight of the various facts and considerations to be given throughout this work. It need not be supposed that all varieties or incipient species attain the rank of species. They may become extinct, or they may endure as varieties for very long periods, as has been shown to be the case by Mr. Wollaston with the varieties of certain fossil land shells in Madeira, and with plants by Gaston de Saporta. Again, probably. The full title of the book is On the Origin of Species by Charles Darwin. Yay. If a variety were to flourish so as to exceed in numbers and parent species, it would then rank as the species and the species as the variety, or it might come to supplant and exterminate the parent species, or both might coexist and both rank as independent species. But we shall hereafter return to this subject. On the origin of species by means of natural selection. Yeah, I am assuming that this was the title maybe from the first one, but this is from the first print of his. But this is version 6, apparently. He had 6 in general, and this is the 6th one. And this was not called On the Origin of Species anymore. It is just called The Origin of Species. We Googled that. Yeah, so, but tell me, on the origin of species by means of natural selection or the preservation of favored races in the struggle for life. I mean, we all understand now why he had to change the name. It is way too long. I'm sorry. Yeah. It's fine. Thank you so much, Bodo, for telling me the entire title. This is actually really great. Where was I? Independence, but we shall hereafter return to the subject. From these remarks, it will be seen that I look at the term species as one arbitrarily given for the sake of convenience to a set of individuals closely resembling each other, and that it does not essentially differ from the term variety, which is given to less distinct and more fluctuating forms. The term variety, again, in comparison with the mere individual differences, is also applied arbitrarily for convenience sake. For convenience sake, I've been telling you for half a chapter, I don't know how much of the chapter this is, probably not even half a chapter with what the differences between what the difficulty is to determine the difference between a variety and a species. But at the same time, I'm not going to tell you, I'm going to also tell you that I'm going to be using both arbitrarily. It makes sense. I understand him. I mean, I would do too. And I like that he explained the difficulty and why he's going to be doing that, because that makes sense, you know? It makes sense and it's helpful, and it is actually like, okay, let me introduce you to this topic, which is going to be very hard, but we're going to separate ourselves from this and be like, okay, we know about that, so you're gonna chill whenever I'm gonna use these terms from now on, okay? Yeah. We arrived at the next section, stopper thingy of the book, and I am super tired because I've been reading and talking and doing, for 1 hour, 17 minutes now. Oh my god. The time passes very fast with you guys. I'm very happy to have you here. I'm very happy that we did that today. This made my day again. Yeah, and I'm very happy to see you in a few days when I get back to it. I mean, I'm so excited about reading this book that I'm just waiting for the afternoon that I'm alone at home and I'm like, ooh, yay, I'm gonna cozy up and just sit down and read. And I love this. I love doing this with you guys. I love that you are also like holding me accountable in terms of I'm saying that I want to read this book, so I'm like, okay, well, we have to do this live and we have to do this online because this is fun. This is like a book club where we keep discussing things while we're reading them, while I am reading them and also commenting on my own, but it's fine. I like having you here nevertheless, and I like all your comments and your highs and buys, and yeah. Okay. I'm excited. Okay. How is my book going? Well, my book is not going well at the moment, to be honest. So the problem is, so for everyone who doesn't know, I'm writing a book on the science of sex, and I have a title that I'm really excited about. Don't tell anyone, but it is So You Think You Know Sex. Do we love the title? We love the title. Okay. Yes, but my it's not going well at the moment. I haven't written a word for at least a month now. I haven't even opened the file. And the reason it's not like a writer's block or anything, because I don't know if you can have writer's block when it's just, I don't have to have a specific succession of writing things. I don't have to be like, oh my God, I have to write this after this. And I have outlined my entire book, obviously. And I have said all the things that I want to set, and I have brainstormed and brain dumped and organized forever, so much that I am now basically able to just go in and be like, what do you want to write today about? What do you want to write about today? Do you want to write about fantasies? Well, have fun with it. And then I have to, research and read papers and do everything on that, and then write whatever I know and whatever I find and stuff like that. And the reason why I've not been writing in the past month is like very, I don't know when time passed. You know what I mean? It feels like, when the fuck did we get to September 23rd? Like, slow down. I don't know. I have like 2 or 3 more chapters to write, but then I'm only like finishing my first draft. Then I have to like rework and rewrite everything, and be very specific about all the references that I'm using, obviously, because this is gonna be like I wanted to have substance and to actually be like the on top of the science how it is now. And this is a very hard thing to do. Yes, it's August 50. Yes, 54th, 54th. Yes, yes. It feels that way for me too, because the weather is also like nice. But at the same time, I'm like, why is everyone freaking out about Halloween right now? Can we just chill for a moment? Why is everyone thinking about what they're wearing for Halloween, and why am I not? I'm gonna go as a pigeon. No, I'm not. This no. I love making my own costumes, and this would be a lot of work. Not only Christmas decorations, but also Christmas treats have been in the stores by August 27th. August 27th was the date that I saw them first. I'm not going into the supermarket every day, but I saw like these typical treats, this typical German sweets that we have for Christmas. They're called Lebkuchen, and there were stacks and stacks of them on August 27th. I want to, like, next year, I want to have like a period in the middle of August where I go to the stores every fuck day, just to see what the day is where they're like, well, yes, now it's Christmas. Perfect. Let's go. And also, like, I don't remember how they do it, but I feel like after Christmas, everything is gone. Like, after New Year's, everything is gone within like a week. For me, it's still Christmas. It's still like what just happened. Chill. Oh my God. Okay. Well, anyways, I'm very happy that you were here today. My book is not going very well at the moment, but you know what? I should maybe just open the file now and see where we're at, and actually try to get more into it. What do you mean by birthday videos? On my birthday this year, I was suffering. On my birthday this year, I was dying. I was, yeah. The months, why? I did all the months. But, well, I did the months like 1,000 years ago, but I did all the months. I started in October, and I did them all through September then. And they are all still online, I think. Which month were you born in? I don't remember anything of those videos. They were 1,000 years ago. But yeah. December. Yay! Your birthday's coming up. But also, oh my god, I'm sorry that you have your birthday at the same time where everybody else is like, yeah, it's like New Year's Eve, and I hope it's a little late, like 20. No, not on Christmas. Oh my god, I'm sorry. Do you want to go to my birthday party? No, I can't because everybody's celebrating Christmas on that day. I'm so sorry. This must be horrible. Also, I'm sorry if I'm deciding that it is horrible because, yeah, it is. Yeah. I mean, and do you only get one big present because, oh yeah, it's your birthday, but it is also like, yay, your my friend is on the 24th. Yeah, I had a friend as well who was on the 24th, and I get both. And that's at least something. That's something. And you can decide to like celebrate it later and then make it like a thing. Ugh. And then the 24th. That is, yeah. Mine was on September 10th, and I really love my birthdays. I really love birthdays in general. I don't care who has a birthday, but I'm just happy about birthdays in general. And the problem is that every time, like, I am very over the top with my birthdays. I love birthdays in general. And I'm very over the top with my friends' birthdays as well because it's so nice to just celebrate it, and it's so nice to be celebrated as well, and I know that, so I do that for all of my friends. And yeah, I had my birthday on September 10th, like 13 days ago. Yay, Taylor Swift reference. But I had my birthday like now, like 2 weeks ago, and I was so sick. I was dying. It was horrible. I don't think I've ever been this sick in my entire life. I felt so bad for like 2 days. It was fine afterwards, but oh my god, I couldn't stand up. I was trying to go to the toilet and I was like, I don't know if I can make it to the 4 steps further. It was horrible. And I was so disappointed and I was crying so much. Also, not only because I was hurting, but also because I was so disappointed because I wanted to, well, all my friends must have been very happy that I was sick on my birthday because I had decided that I was gonna, I had decided that I was gonna do a party. I have themed parties. I like themed parties. So I had decided that I was gonna have a, what's it called? Um, Talent show party where everyone comes with a talent and has to present their talent to other people. How fun would it be to be like, yes, well, I can do that. or I don't know, I can whistle really well. I can whistle really well. Or I can, I don't know, do something else, and I paint stick figures. I don't know. Something funny just to be like, haha. What do you mean, let's see? The mics are gonna die. I mean, I'm gonna try, okay? What do you want me to try? What melody do you want me to try? Every time it's like, say something when you tell somebody that you're speaking Greek. Um hmm. I don't know why this came into my head. I'm like, yes, obviously you're gonna whistle Les Mis. Anyways, I was trying to hang up. I was trying to chill and thank you, thank you very much. um, yeah, it was very nice seeing you guys. It was very nice spending my evening with you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much, Dim, for Googling everything for me. It was very helpful, really. Hi. Oh my God, that's a huge compliment. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes. Hello, Helman. I'm sorry, but we're basically leaving now. I'm sorry. Been watching for years. What do you mean for years? I mean, yes, I've been doing this for years. That's true. Oh my God, it's so nice. Thank you so much. It's so nice. Yeah. So it was very nice seeing you all, and I hope to see you all next time again. And yay. Rats. Yeah. Yes, I hope so too, Haman. I hope so. I hope you're gonna be able to join next time. It would be nice. It was very nice today. It was like for me, it was really nice. Yes. Okay. See you next time. I'm very happy to have been here, and bye-bye. Wait, what do I close first? This. No. I'm acting like my boomer father who doesn't know how to close. Why am I so red? Oh my